So I remember in my first church, we had a very, very small church and an even smaller Sunday school, and there were very few children there, but they wanted one year to do a full Christmas pageant. And they didn't have enough kids for it, so as one kid came in with a pillow with some things on it, he said, "I am all three wise men, and I come bearing precious gifts of God, circumstance, and mud." And so what is the season? It's of God, of circumstance, and of mud. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about taking care of the baby and what that really means. You know, the baby is born. We in our culture, we celebrate our mighty God. You know, we drive our SUVs to our big churches, and we feel God is powerful. And, you know, that is one aspect of God, because God is infinite. So, yes, that is real. God is infinite. But what else is God? Can you imagine God as vulnerable? Can you imagine God as a baby, as helpless? You know, whatever you think about your religious story or your theology, know that your religion is only the cup that you drink the nectar of your spirituality out of. That your religion separates, but your spirituality unites. And religion's important, and cups are important, but cups don't define that which is in the cup. So set aside what's the story and the theology and all of that, and focus on what does this mean? The baby being born vulnerable, as innocent and naive, and utterly without the ability to take care of itself. What's the point of that? What is the purpose of having your spiritual nature so vulnerable and so in need of you that you have to attend to it? Well, if you're just embarking on recovery, or if you're just embarking on a new spiritual part of yourself, you've discovered some part of yourself that you need to let go of, or you need to embrace. You're a new spiritual student. There's something, you're taking care of a loved one and you don't know how. You can't even take care of yourself. Know that that resource within you that will help you needs you. And you have to take care of it. It'll grow into the fullness of your spiritual nature. But right now, it's a baby. You know, I remember reading about a woman who'd just given birth to her first child. She'd just come home, and her mother-in-law came over to help her, and she had all the parenting books, baby books open, and she was looking at all the baby books. And the baby was crying away. And the mother-in-law said, "Oh, can I help you?" She said, I'm beside myself. I try everything that the books tell me to do, and nothing seems to work. And the mother-in-law goes and picks up the baby and holds the baby and then hands it to the mother and says, "Here, all he really needs is you." And the baby, settling in, stopped crying. You know, we run around trying here and there, trying to read the books. We want to make sure, what's the latest of Deepak's 45 books? What did he say that he didn't say in the last 44? They're wonderful. Or, you know, Emily Cady, who wrote Lessons of Truth, said, "Don't read many books." She didn't even write that as a book. That was just a series of lessons. We run around looking everywhere for the light. We're looking everywhere for the truth. We're looking everywhere for something, but it's a baby. You have to pick it up. You've got to nurture it. You've got to take care of it. What does it take? What does it take? You know, I've shared before that our firstborn was born on December 26th, and Lynn actually went into labor as she was giving the candlelight service with me. She's going to tell me later. That isn't really what happened, but it works for the point of the story. Tell me later. I think, you know, my memory is amazing. But anyway, I can make up all kinds of things. But I do know she was born on December 26th, and the baby, you know, what do you have to bring to the baby? What do you bring? Well, first thing you have to bring to the baby is you have to bring your attention. You have to pay attention to the baby. You know, nowadays, you get a cell phone here and you're rocking the cradle like that, you know. But no, you need to pay attention to the baby. You've got to pay attention. And are you paying attention to the spiritual nature within you? In the middle of all the circumstances, the God circumstance and mud, With Mary, can you say, this drama is not who I am? Together. This drama is not who I am. In the face of being in a far country, in the dark, behind a bar, which is what an inn was, in a stable, which was a cave, placing the baby in a feed box, and they had no Lysol. The baby, they needed all of that. She didn't. She just moved ahead with it. She pondered these things in her heart. She was filled with wonder. She was filled with joy. Now, let's talk about your family. Let's talk about your Christmas. In the middle of all of that, and you know what I'm talking about, in the middle of all of that, what's most important? The baby. Take care of the baby. Oh, things are going on in the inn. They're making a lot of noise. It's dark. It's cold. It's not the perfect situations. It may not even seem to be sanitary or safe, but are you taking care of the baby? How can you take care of the baby? So that's what this Christmas is about for you. Seeing the spiritual nature of you as innocent, vulnerable, and ready for you to take care of it, because all it needs is you. What else do you need to do with a baby? You've got to feed a baby. And how do you feed a baby? You provide your awareness and your attention. You do the study you need to do. Maybe you get up 15 minutes earlier and take a little more time with your daily word. Or you do this work. You take the time to pay attention and to feed the baby. You remember, I've shared before, you can't make a baby eat anything. Nobody ever made a baby eat anything. But you have to work with it. You've got to work with your spiritual nature. You've got to find out that your spiritual nature isn't at all what you thought it was. You know, God is infinite, and the spiritual aspect of you that is growing into maturity, into being, isn't like what you thought it was. I thought it was coming in on, great clouds of glory, but here it is in the most vulnerable, naive, and innocent place. And so, what is God? What is God this Christmas to you? What were you taught about God? What did they say God was? Did they tell you God was Almighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace? Yes. But God is the nurturing little baby. Okay, so we feed the baby. What else do we do with the baby? Got to change the baby. They don't talk about that aspect of the Christmas story much, do they? They don't think about it for too many minutes here, but you have to take care of the baby in that way too. What do you have to do? You've got to journal. You've got to let go of the things that aren't meeting your needs. The baby is letting go all the time of that which it doesn't need, and it doesn't just happen once. It happens over and over and over again, and you've got to take the time for it. So I put something in your bulletins, and I want you to take a look at it. It is your spiritual thermometer. And yes, you have a copy of it, but where is it? Hopefully it's up on your wall or up on your mirror in your bathroom. But take this. Ask yourself through the celebration, through the time that you're going, when you're decorating the tree, when you're out shopping, when you're with your family. Did you know that the number one source of argument in the first year of marriage is Christmas tradition? That's number one, the worst argument. And so know that whatever's going on, the birth is taking place anyway. Put the baby first. And then ask yourself, where am I on the spiritual thermometer? Where am I right now on the spiritual thermometer? And come up with a number. Oh, I'm at about a 2. Because I want to wring their neck. Okay, I'm a 2. Be honest about it. Be real about it. You can't change a diaper until you realize it's full. You've got to be aware. And so, okay, that's where I am. Where would I like to be? Oh, I'd like to be about a 9. Maybe you want to be a little bit more realistic. I'll take a 6. I'll take a 6. Anything above a 5 is okay. So where would you like to be on the spiritual thermometer? And then feel yourself moving up. And let go of the things. Journal out the things that are holding you back, that are keeping you down low. Take the time to do what you need to do in order to lift yourself up to a higher place. You can make that determination. You say, is it really that simple? Yes, it is that simple. It means Letting go of the addictive need to make everybody around you listen to everything you have to say and toe your line, and for all the circumstances to be exactly what you want them to be. I made a list of how to have a really imperfect Christmas. First, try to get all your personal expectations met. Do whatever you can to make yourself look good. Make sure everybody thinks you have it all together. Always keep everybody happy all the time. Take on more than you can handle. And focus on the material world and its needs, because it's about the presents anyway. And then how do you move past that? Take care of the baby. What does the baby need right now? What do I really need to be focusing on? You know, Mary focused on the joy. She focused on the birth. She focused on the baby. She had all these circumstances stacked up against her, and she just said, I am not this drama. Together, I am not this drama. I am taking care of the baby. Together, I am taking care of the baby. So what is this that's happening to us? This is from the writings of Alice Bailey. She said, when the individual and the soul attempt to come together, and that event is consummated, the Christ is born in the cave of the heart and then is seen with increasing power. Now, what is that? Your personal self is reaching up higher to the possibility of a higher nature, a higher experience, a higher something. And what is that? That is your soul. And when you and your soul join, then something magical happens, something wonderful happens, and then you have an experience of what? A spiritual birth. A spiritual birth that moves you into a possibility that is going to grow into something great. But realize the baby contains within it everything it needs to grow into the fullness. Yes, someday that baby Jesus was going to walk on water, raise the dead, and heal the sick, but right then, it just needed love and care and affection and attention. And in you, right now, realize that the spiritual nature of you contains all the spiritual genetic material it needs in order to grow into the fullness of its possibility, just as a seed grows. And sometimes seeds need fire. You know, I come from California, and they told me about redwood trees. And a redwood tree cannot grow unless fire breaks open the seed. And for you, sometimes you've got fire in your life. Sometimes you've got difficult times. Sometimes you've got to face those things. But when it starts rocking, let it rock, because it's going to open up your soul. And when it reconfigures itself, it'll be in a new aspect that will feed your needs and grow you into what you need to be. This is some important stuff. This is some important stuff. So the baby needs your attention, needs you to feed it, needs you to change it, needs you to play with it, to have a playful attitude, to have that joy in every moment. You know, I never really understood Christmas until I had children. And then I remembered what it was like. What is Christmas really all about? It's a sense of joy. It's a sense of play. And that's why Jesus said, become as a child. Something else about this baby. A baby has to be protected. You have to stand up for a baby. You've got to take care of the baby in the face of difficulties. And remember, right after the birth, where did they go? They did not go back to Nazareth. They went to Egypt. Why did they go there? Because Herod was a danger. You say, well, what possible danger does the birth of my spiritual nature in me have? What could possibly be lined up against my spiritual nature? Well, I see two things. One's Herod and one's the priests. The Herod in you and me is that aspect of us that wants to put it out because it is a threat to its very existence. King Herod, King Ego. The part of us that wants to just be the boss of the applesauce, as we used to say to our kids. And it knows that its days are numbered because the birth has taken place. And I know this is some challenging stuff, but that lower nature of you, the part of you that is not, it's going to fall by the wayside, and it knows it. So be willing to do what you need to do. In their case, they went down to Egypt, but what do you need to do? You know, when you're in the middle of a situation that really isn't nurturing to the birth, are you willing to withdraw from it? Are you willing to withdraw from it? And this isn't to be all defensive or strange about things, but think about Christmas Eve. You know, Chicago's got people who have been in more, I would say, enmeshed family systems than I've ever seen anywhere in the places I've served. It's good because there's stability and there's family, but the other side of it is that sometimes the families can kind of bring you down. And so there's a time that you've got to decide, I am not my family, I am my intentional family. Together? I am not my family, I am my intentional family. And your intentional family contains, people are going, right on. And it's not to denigrate or to lessen or to put down. It's to understand you don't go to don't get a blood out of a turnip or go to a dry well and try to get water. Don't expect that which is not available. Jesus told them. He said, that there are going to be difficulties, he said, with your family. He said it in many very graphic and sometimes troubling ways. And realize that you are not defined by your family dynamics, by your family system. One of the things that could be nurturing to you is to come on Christmas Eve if you can. We won't keep you longer than an hour. Light a candle with an intentional family. But whatever that intentional family is for you, the people that support you, then you can love your blood family because you're not expecting them to give you a bunch of stuff that they can't give you. And you can set them free. The other aspect that is a bit of a danger to this birth is the priest. The priests in Jerusalem, you think, well, they didn't even show up. They didn't do anything, right? Because they were so busy, they didn't even know what was going on. They were so involved in themselves. And there's aspects of you, the priests had their money changers in the temple, and they had a deal where everybody had to do sacrifices of birds and animals in order to, have a birth or get over something or let go of something and have a marriage. And in order to do that, they had to buy those animals from the priest's relatives in the temple for 5 times the amount they'd be on the outside. So there's all this commerce going on, all these things going on. That can get you down. That can kind of choke off the experience of the birth for you, where you're so caught up in all the injustice. There's a lot of injustice in the world. I got an email from a minister friend of mine who said she got people in her church who want to hear to talk more about the injustice. And there is injustice. But the solution to the injustice is not found in taking a sword to it. But it's found in nurturing the birth and knowing that it will grow up into something bigger and greater that will be able to handle it. You can grow bigger than the problems in your life. Your spiritual nature can grow bigger than those circumstances that seem so unjust to you. And we are, as a family of humanity, are growing bigger as well. So we do address these things. We address them on the level of cause, not effect. I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but that's an interesting one. But, it's challenging. Understand it. Jesus once said, the poor you will always have with you. And he wasn't saying that you shouldn't take care of the poor, because he said over and over again, take care of the poor. But he was also saying, solve the problem on the level of the solution rather than railing against the problem so much. You've got to be aware of it. But we've got to grow. If every human being took their spiritual step, if every human being attended to the birth, if every human being took care of that which is theirs to take care of within their soul, people would wake up. And that is what's happening. And the reason why I'm on a roll here. The reason why things look the way they do right now in the world is because things are being delineated. Things are being defined. Jesus said, I came to bring peace, but a sword, meaning the differentiation between the higher and the lower, the good and the bad. Eckhart Tolle said, people think that the darkness is getting worse. No, it's not. It's just noisier than the light. So realize that you yourself can move past that limitation. You yourself can move past it. And as you lift yourself up, as Jesus said, you lift all up unto you. So make that decision right here, right now, that you're going to move past the limitation that you've been living in, and you're no longer going to be stuck in that place. Make that decision here and now. Give yourself to the birth. Make a commitment to the birth. I'm going to tell on myself. After that birth of that first baby, I went to work I took a few days off, and we took care of the baby together, and, she took care of the baby mostly, but I stood by and watched. But no, I did the best I could. in my limited consciousness. I did the best I could. But then I went to work, and then I came back, and I said, I asked my friend, everybody said everything would be so different after the baby's born, but it's not all that different. She looked at me, she said later, I did everything I could to just not, for you, but make the commitment and be willing to let your life be utterly changed. Because after a while, I got the point, and I realized. But make the commitment and realize your life is not your own anymore. When you have a baby, your life is not your own anymore. My life is not my own anymore. Together, my life is not my own anymore. Because I'm taking care of the baby. Together, because I'm taking care of the baby. Take care of the baby. Take care of it. And it's going to define where you vacation. It's going to define what you do. It's going to define the job you take. It's going to define your relationship. The birth of the spiritual within you takes over your life little by little by little, just like a baby does. That baby's a little tyrant taking over my life. But give into it, because you're going to love the baby, and the baby's going to love you, and it's going to be the most wonderful thing in the world. But you got to stop fighting it. This is a church of spiritual growth. People come in here and say, where's the big screen and where's the big thing? No, we got one thing, it's a baby. It's spiritual growth. That's what we're about. And that's what we're doing here. It's for you. What is the spiritual growth for you? What does the baby need for you? What do you need to bring to the baby? And that's what you've got to commit to. So let's do that right now. I want you to just take a deep breath and just make the commitment. Say, I am willing to commit to my spiritual step, my spiritual growth, whatever that is. Whether I'm embarking on an aspect of my being, whether I'm moving into a new place, whether I'm changing inside, I can feel it. And I feel a little out of control sometimes, but that's part of it too. I feel like everything's changed and it's not going to go back. And the truth is, it's changed and it's not going to go back. I feel like my life is going to be an adventure and I can't define all of it. And that's great, because God is that innocent, tender baby within my heart and soul. That incredible experience that is moving me. And as I commit to this spiritual step, I allow myself to experience something new and let go of my life and let go of my choices and let go of everything so that I can grow spiritually. And now I imagine myself with my family or whatever I'm going to be doing, and shopping or whatever I'm going to be doing this week, at the celebrations, at the feasts, whatever it is. And I just say, I'm going to take care of the baby first. I will take care of this baby first. And I won't expect everybody else to line up the way I want them to, because I know that this baby is what I really need to take care of. I don't want to take my eyes off this baby. I don't want to take my attention off of this spiritual birth. Thank you, God, for awakening me to what Christmas is really about. And so it is. Amen. So this is a sacred time. So you have to have your hands free for the baby. The baby who is representative of the spiritual birth within your soul. So set down all papers and everything in your hands and open your hands so that you can be receptive and ready. Receptive and open. And open to the possibility that there is a birth taking place in you. And in this now moment, the baby is ready to be birthed in the manger of your soul. That spiritual nature within you, that next spiritual step, what is it that you need spiritually? That birth is taking place within you. Open yourself to this possibility, this new something. What is it requiring of you? A heart like a manger. An openness, a rest, a willingness, and a commitment. When you decide to have a baby, there's no turning back. You've made a commitment. And so make that commitment to your soul. I am willing to birth my spiritual nature. I'm willing to give all that I have, all my resources, everything that I have, and give it to the birth of this new possibility in my heart. A new possibility of peace, well-being, of harmony, of joy, of satisfaction, most of all of love. But this birth requires of us that we nurture, feed, take care of, pay attention to, make our commitment in this moment. So deep within your being, just move deeper and deeper within your being and say, I am committing to the birth of the spiritual part of me, the baby represented by the Christ in me. And I'm willing to let it come forth in the way it needs to. Babies contain within themselves everything they need in every way to grow, genetically, every other way. And so what we need to bring is that nurturance, that willingness, that maternal love. Feel that love for the spiritual nature of your being. Feel it. I want this more than anything. I want to grow this part of me into full maturity. Someday, the spiritual part of me will do miracles, will walk on water and raise the dead and heal the sick. But right now, it's a vulnerable baby, and it's mine to take care of it. And in the hearth of my heart, in the silence, in this sacred space, with the wonder of Mary, I make my commitment, and I say yes to this baby in the silence of my soul. Whatever this baby needs, whatever the spiritual birth in me, whatever my next spiritual step needs, I'm ready to commit to it. I'm willing to commit to it. And if I don't know what it is, I'm willing. I'm willing to find out. Babies don't come with instructions, but they come with possibilities. And I give my whole heart, because all this baby needs is me. All this spiritual part of me needs is me. Whether I'm embarking on recovery or a spiritual student or trying to learn and grow, trying to change something, all this baby needs is me. All this potential, this part of me that wants to grow needs is me. I give my whole self. I give my whole commitment. I give my love, my tender affection. I give my playtime. I give my feeding. I give everything to my spiritual nature. And I remember as I move through Christmas season, my family and all the things I may be facing, all the busyness and even the troubling times, let me put the baby first. Let me take care of the baby first, the spiritual part of me first. Remember, it's about that. And with Mary, say, I am not this drama. Whatever the circumstances are, whether it's a feed box in a stable behind a bar in a far country in the dark, as it was for her, everywhere I am, God is. Wherever I am, God is. Thank you, God. And so it is. And the baby is ready to be born. And so we're going to give this gift right now in the time of our giving in honor of this baby. I give in honor of the Christmas baby, and I receive abundantly. I give in honor of the Christmas baby, and I receive abundantly. And silently. And again aloud together. I give in honor of the Christmas baby, and I receive abundantly